have got our own TC Malchus in the studio with us this afternoon, and she's really going to share a bit of an overview of her journey through life and thus far. I think it's very important childhood-wise. She's a Xhosa, and really want us to get to that culture shift, because we know we're often very uneducated and ill-informed of the processes of being a Xhosa bride as well as a Christian. So we're going to try and give you a little bit of an overview of that journey. But first of all, TC, welcome, and thank you for being with us this afternoon.
Reinette, thank you. And like I said before, it's an honor and a privilege. I've always loved your show and just the guests that you have, and how beautiful the conversations that you have are. They're always so informative and educational, and I'm excited and glad that I can share a bit of who I am and, of course, the little knowledge that I have as one. Hopefully, educate some people out there. Yeah.
Wonderful. So, and if you've just joined us now, we are on Facebook Live, and you can see how beautifully dressed TC is in her post-marriage gear, and she's going to give us a little bit of an overview of what it's about, definitely after our next music break. But tell us a little bit about your journey and how you waited on your wonderful husband, and your walk with your Christian faith.
Walk with Christian faith. So, I always say to people that I was very privileged that from a very young age, I was able to give my life to Christ from a very, very young age. At 8, I gave my life to Christ. There was altar call at church, and I stood up and said, I want Jesus to take my life. And, I want Jesus to be the one that leads and guides my life. So that was a privilege on its own. I grew up as, in a way, an only child, because my brother and sister are very, very much older than me.
Okay.
So, for example, now I'm in late 30s, well, almost 40, and they are already like going into their 60s almost.
Oh my goodness, that's a real lot, Lamiki.
Yeah, so I am a lot Lamiki, but it was interesting. We've always, built a bond with them and tried, even though there's a bit of a gap there, age gap there. So I grew up with my mom. Mom is a domestic worker in Sea Point. She was a domestic worker in Sea Point before she retired. So I grew up in a lavish suburb of Sea Point, and my mom and I stayed together with her employer in Sea Point, and I got the privilege, of course, because of having stayed in that suburb, of attending the schools there. So I went to Sea Point Primary School as a little girl. And a lot of, who I am was shaped in that primary school.
Wonderful.
It's a very, very good school to send your children, to all the moms out there. There was it was very diverse, and especially at that time. I mean, it was the early 90s, I guess. Yeah. Where we started, and we were, I remember like the black kids and the colored kids were one of the first kids
to be integrated.
Wonderful. So we were actually one of those, that were the first to go into Model C schools. So it was a privilege, to be able to do things like swimming after school, to be part of swimming galas, sports days, and all of that. So I really grew up with that privilege and really just. At times, I guess, as a kid, you don't really realize what you have and how it's shaping you and molding you for the person that you will become as an adult. But I mean, at that time, you're just enjoying time with your friends, and meanwhile, you're being shaped, culturally, and just in terms of your view as well. You're being exposed to a different world.
Yes.
And then went to Camps Bay High School, which was also, one of those shaping moments. My whole high school was at Camps Bay, but it was always very interesting just to see the parallel worlds, because, I mean, my mom was a domestic worker, and you're going to school with
In, like,
super
brushes.
rich kids, and these kids, their parents are like millionaires, billionaires. But, we all went to school and we were all equal at that time. And that's just the purity also of childhood and teenage years. We never really saw that, oh, I can't be your friend because, there was never classism. I can't be your friend because we can't relate, in terms of class. But, we all gathered and we really enjoyed our company together, enjoyed our schooling as well. If I think of the people that I met there, and that's one thing that I can really just, I guess, praise God for, having a mom like mine who is a prayer warrior. I've seen my mom pray for things and they come to pass, and I'm like, wow. She would literally name the things in prayer.
Yes,
and
proclaim it.
And then, these things come to pass. I'm like, yo, this woman is amazing. And so I think I was definitely kept by my mom's prayers, during that time, because obviously we're growing up. I mean, Sunday, it was culture. I know that we go to church, and our church was always a traditional black church, and we went to Khayelitsha for church, and we traveled from Sea Point to Khayelitsha every single week, every single
dedication.
Sunday. So I think it was also an element of like my mom, ensuring that I do keep up with, my culture, which is I am black, I am Xhosa. And so going to that church even helped me to develop, to understand the Xhosa language. Reading the Xhosa Bible also helped me a lot to understand my language. So I really thank my mom for that and her wisdom in applying that into my life. And then we had a family home in Khayelitsha as well. So after church, we'd go to the family home, be with family. Then again, we packing our bags and then going back to Sea Point, the lavish suburb. So I knew all worlds, and then that's, for me, I think, really does set me apart in the world, because I know what it is to live in a shack in Khayelitsha. I know what it is to live in a mansion in Camps Bay. So
you straddled both worlds.
Worlds. I mean, yeah. So Reinette, and then after high school, in high school I was very popular, as you've already mentioned, that I'm a popular adult now.
Very popular add-on to all of us, yeah. You're such a joy.
So I became popular because I really the joy of the Lord has always been my strength. For me, it's always just been living with joy. I've always had the ability, it's God working in me, to really just have build relationships with people,
You're really gifted.
I was never a groupie sort of a person, to belong into
They were probably your groupie.
yeah, so true. So I've always, been very into conversations. I remember, as a young person in high school, having conversations with people, understanding, who they are. Like, okay, cool, you come to school, Camps Bay, but who are you, beyond that? So I've always been very interested in people, and therefore people would be interested in me. And I remember having sports days, and I also became a prefect at Camps Bay High because of the popularity.
Yes.
And
followed you.
Another thing, excuse me. Sorry, Reinette.
The props.
Another thing that was also a highlight during my high school time is that I really fell in love with drama, the arts, and performing. I found the stage to just be something that came with ease, within me. So I did drama. I sang in the school choir. So I was really interested in all things arts. And that is what I believe shaped then who I then become later on, in terms of being a creative, being someone that is in the media space, in performance. Not that we perform in terms of what we do, but you're
in the slipstream.
You're in that space, yeah. So it was a beautiful childhood, really. We were always busy. It's rehearsals, literally almost every day. And there's always a show that's going to happen. And and you also get to meet people, you get to engage. And I've always loved people. So yeah, Reinette. And then after high school, I didn't know really what I wanted to do, but I thought advertising. I wanted to go to Triple A, the advertising school, but the money, it was too expensive.
Yes.
So then I had a discussion with my mom's employer because they were then going to pay for the university. And yeah, we decided, well, I also decided on public relations at CPUT. So that was town, and then passed matric, went into university, and that in itself was just something else.
Was that foundational for you?
Very foundational
Yes.
in terms of my faith in Christ. Because remember, all the reference that I had when it came to Jesus, when it came to church, was my church in Khayelitsha, right? And it's very traditional. It's a Xhosa church. It's a traditional church, but it is Pentecostal. So now I get to varsity and I'm introduced to SCO, YMCA, Young Men's Christian, organization or society, I'm not sure, and SCO. And I'm seeing all these young people that are really cool, young people that love Jesus, So it took away in my mind that thing that, so Christianity is not just about my church in Khayelitsha with the old people and all, but it's actually for young people that are
as well
in university, as well. So there was a mind shift that definitely happened at that time. And then slowly but surely, then I started, being more friendly with the people that were in the Y, the people that were in SCO. I started, gathering my tribe in a sense, and gathering the people that became my people, and shaped also where I am today, and just understanding Christ more. I mean, I remember spending time in the Y when we had, breaks and intervals during university, and I would spend time in the Y. There's nothing more that I actually wanted to do but be at the Y. However, what also happened at that time, that's when the radio bug bit, because we had,
of course, you have that at the universities.
We had a varsity radio. It was called Cats Radio at the time. And so I auditioned first year. I didn't get in, Reinette, and I was devastated because everyone was saying, oh, you've got such a great voice and you're going to be excellent at this. And yeah, this is what the radio needs, and da-da-da-da-da. So I get there and I don't get it, and I'm devastated. I'm like, wow, so this is it, eh? So my dream of being a radio presenter is over. But then, so I concentrated. I mean, I got A's. I remember getting A's in my first year of university. I was that dedicated to, I just want to do well. And it was always about, I never want to disappoint my mom because she sacrificed a lot, So, so then I went for the second year and I got it. And then I was like, yes, this is it. I had a midday show, literally your time, 12 until 3. It was I had 3 times a week. And I spent a lot of my time in that studio between the YMCA and the studio. Exactly. So, yeah, that's my bit of history in terms of childhood and until...
And how you got this far.
And how I got this far.
For me, what I'm loving hearing here is that setback, it was actually your comeback.
Definitely. Don't give up on those dreams.
I'm telling you now, even those setbacks, it pushes you into your destiny, as the enemy would like to have that, is that just give it up. But you are so well seasoned and you are so cut out for the journey you're actually presently on. It's absolutely incredible. So Family Fruits, I just want you to please go on our Facebook, go and see how beautifully she's dressed. TC's going to share a little bit about that culture shift.
Yes.
As she's painted it so clearly that she grew up traditionally, but also in a very westernized world and understood Christianity perfectly and what it takes. And she's going to share with us just her journey on waiting on her husband in purity and in love, waiting for him on the Lord. And then at the same time, how she stood against the customs, certain customs in the traditions, but yet she still merged the Christianity and the Xhosa culture in marriage. So we're going to just stick with us and listen to an Afrikaans song with me. Met hande omhoog by Xhosa Gemeente. I cannot wait for us to play out with that. We will be joining you straight after this.
Yay! If you're within our broadcasting reception area, this is your chance to make a difference. Your contributions will directly support our operations and help us grow. To sign up for a debit order, please visit our website at www.capepulpit.co.za or contact our station directly on 021 917 7000. Thank you for being part of our community. Stay tuned to Cape Pulpit 7 to 9 a.m.
WhatsApp the studio now. Save the number on your phone 081 729 1657. That's 081 729 1657. Rise on Cape Pulpit.
And thank you so much for being with us. It's Reinette beside it on Rise 7 to 9 a.m. And we have just been so privileged to hear the story of, where TC, our very own TC, who is one of our most popular presenters.
And again.
I have to, because we love your programs and you are such a joy to have with us. And it's with the yellow mic. I want to encourage people to listen because it is so
tonight, in fact.
Tonight, yes.
7 p.m. until 8 p.m.
Okay, good. And then the Ibumi Kukrestu and the lifestyle programs.
Yes.
And, we really need to understand the culture shift. You painted the picture of growing up in Camps Bay, but also being exposed to healthily to your own Xhosa culture and going to church there. Your mom was very, very strategic and intentional with that. So TC explained to us, you waited on the Lord you're a Christian. You accepted the Lord early in your age, but you understood your culture and your traditions. And there's certain customs that take place in the Xhosa marriage. But you can explain that all to us as how did you incorporate Christianity on this journey?
So interestingly enough, Reinette, just before I got married and even now, I still look through my old journals. I'm a journal girl, so I really journal. Like every week, end of the week, I'm like, where's my journal? I need to write everything down, and my thoughts, my prayers as well to God. So I was looking through my journals from back in the day, like when I was in high school, first year varsity, and I'm thinking, wow, it's like I've always known that I would be a wife, and it was always there. The yearning was there. And I also think from a church background, it was always instilled, that you do not date.
Yes.
You do not date as a child of God. There's no such thing as, especially in a black traditional Xhosa church, a Pentecostal.
Yes.
In my church, there was no dating. There was no boyfriends. You can't be on some, this is my boyfriend, like boyfriend, huh?
Can be a boy and a friend.
It can be a boy and a friend, but not a boyfriend. So I grew up like that. I grew up being scared of boys. Like I was always scared of boys. I remember from a very young age, like if I were maybe, for example, in the Khayelitsha area, because like how the guys would stand in a corner somewhere, I would literally trip and fall because I do not, I'm scared, I'm shy of boys, right? And I knew my identity is in Christ Jesus, but it's just when it came to boys, I was like, I don't want boys,
It was properly instilled in you.
It was instilled. And obviously having a traditional Xhosa mom that's like, hey, no boys. So now you grow up and you get to varsity and, you still have that mentality, no boys. Fine, okay, no boys. So you start working. I've worked for Eskom, by the way, in the corporate space. And there again, in my mind, I was just like, no boys are going to mess you up. Boys are going to waste your time. But though there was still that thing in me that, okay, one day I would love to get married, and I thought that I would get married earlier on, in my 20s. And it didn't happen. So now as life goes on, you're like, hey, but what's going on? It's not like I don't want to get married, but also maybe Then there's also the workspace that we get into, Reinette, and sometimes it can influence us in a negative way, in a societal way. Where
and the clock.
And the clock, but also the influence is more about that whole independent woman thing.
Oh,
you
yes.
know, where it's about, but why? You don't need a man, you can just, make your way up the corporate ladder, make your money, own your houses, own properties, own your cars, and that's that, as a woman. But I think because it was instilled and because I knew the truth of Christ, I knew that no, marriage is in store for me. I don't know how, I don't know when, but I know that the steps of a righteous man are ordered by the Lord. So he's going to order that space in my life. So yeah, I waited, Reinette. I waited. And at church, the interesting thing at church is that when one wanted to get married, right, the man, the groom, potential groom would then speak to the pastor. So that those are the rules of the church. You speak to the pastor and say, Pastor, there's a girl that I've seen in the church that I want to marry. And this girl is so and so, and then pastor is gonna go and speak to the girl on your behalf as the
So
man.
he navigates the whole story.
He navigates the entire story. So, and Reinette, lo and behold, it never happened to me. No man
In your church, anyway.
in my church came to me and said, I want to marry you. I did get, a couple of guys that would be interested in me, like, workspace. But for me, it was, and also I was always convicted in terms of I'm going to marry a man of God. I'm going to
You were
marry a
determined,
man
which
of
is
God.
so perfect. That's the way it should be.
It was never about like, I guess maybe when we were little, there was that thing that, where it's very fleshy, like, he must be tall, dark, and handsome, and he must be driving this car, and he must be,
all flesh.
working here and there, he must be an accountant, he must be a whatever. So it's all flesh. So as I got older, which I think it really, really shaped the way that I thought, my experiences, the conversations, because now I started having conversations with people that were married, in the church. Like, okay, so how do you know that your husband was, the one? Or husband, how did you know that your wife was the one? And, having those conversations, I would actually encourage single people out there to hang out with married people, because there's a lot that you can learn.
Wisdom in the process, on the journey.
On the journey.
Don't have waiting.
Because now if you're just spending time with single people, all you're going to hear is single.
No point of reference.
No point of reference whatsoever.
What should be happening or not.
So I waited, and I mean, it's tough because then you see people getting married around you. You see the people that you went to university with getting married, getting their first kids, and you're like, what's going on with me? But you rely on God, Reinette. I mean, you've been part of that journey with me before I met my husband, Thabo. I mean, you really just rely on God. And I think one thing that I told myself is that I'm going to serve in the house of the Lord, and that's what I'm going to do while I wait, and
Yes.
I didn't look at it as like, oh, poor me,
You're on the shelf type of thing.
feel
You weren't
sorry
not.
for me
No.
because I'm single, but it's about, this is a season that I'm in. It's a single season, but I know that God has
Wants
something
the
in store
best
for me
for
and
you.
wants the best for us, and his ways are higher than our ways. His thoughts, are bigger than our thoughts. So why not rely on him? And it gave me such a solid foundation to spend more time with God, even, to understand who am I, this identity, in Christ Jesus, without saying, oh, I'm a wife or I'm a mom, but understanding who am I. And I think those years of singleness, those years of, pursuing God with everything, have really, really gotten me to a place, a good space with God, and a good space with this relationship, that we are in as believers. So for the single people out there, never look down on your single time or your space of singleness or that time of singleness. It is necessary, it is needed for you to understand whose you are in Christ Jesus, and make time for God during that time. Don't go out and do other things now. Make time for God. God has elected you, has selected you purposefully for that season that you're in. So embrace it.
Wonderful. So quickly finish up. How did you meet your husband?
So
How did you meet Tabu?
Tabu and I met through a mutual friend. A mutual friend that thought that, you know what, if I bring this one and this one together, sparks are going to fly.
Well done. Well discerned.
It's very interesting, Reinette. I entered a competition through, Tigerberg Partnerships. It's an organization that is based in Bellville, and they needed they needed innovators, people that had great ideas, young people that had great ideas. So I entered this competition. I didn't even know what it was about, but I entered nonetheless. Then we had to pitch, and I actually got third prize. But within the people that were pitching was the mutual friend who became a mutual friend at that time. So I met, he's probably listening right now. I met Umfundo Feke, and he became a buddy of mine. He's a guy. And then he was besties with, still is besties with Thabo. So then, his conversation would be interesting when we would have conversations, because now we're friends. I don't know about Thabo at this time. So he would ask me about things like, oh, do you want to get married? I'm thinking, but you're married. So how am I going to marry you?
Questions?
So I was like,
not the pastor,
this guy's a bit dodgy. Like, what's going on here? So then he invited me. Invited us to his house, and it was a braai set up, and that's how we met.
Fantastic. It's so exciting, actually. But we're going to join you after this. You're going to share with us about the whole pre-marriage and the post-marriage. And you are so beautifully dressed and accordingly. So I can't wait to hear all that information.
Yeah.
So we're going to play out with Big God by Ray Basson. And enjoy this.
Rise on Cape Pulpit.
TC in the studio with us now in her actual post wedding gear. You know, it is absolutely interesting. She's going to share with us a little bit about that. TC, I'm just jump into it. What does it all look like?
So when you get married as a Xhosa bride, you become a new person. You now have to go to your in-laws' house. And when you get there, you are stripped naked. You cannot be wearing your old clothes because those clothes are deemed to be your girl clothes, you know. You were not a woman then, and now you are a makoti. That is the term or the word that it would be used by your in-laws, that umakoti way to our makoti, so our new bride. Now makoti, there's been, especially on social media, there's been a lot of talk in terms of what it means. Some people say that it's derived from the Afrikaans saying mark on steer, but I guess that's a conversation for another day.
Another day, I'll explain to you a little bit.
Reinette has just revealed some other things now about mark on steer. But anyway, a makoti is a new bride in the Xhosa culture. So I got there, and your in-laws buy the gears for you, or your husband, but it is them that have to buy. So it would be the sister-in-law and the mother-in-law, or the mother-in-law. I'm wearing uxakato. Let me start from the head. So on the head, you wear this black doek that I'm wearing, which is called ikechemia. Ikechemia is almost like a bridle. Do you know a horse bridle, Reinette?
Yes.
So it's almost like to focus you as a new bride. That now, you know, it's not about the things of here, there, and everywhere. Your focus must be on your family and your in-laws. So you wear the entire outfit for about 3 to 6 months, depending on the family. So each family is different in terms of what you wear and when you take it off. And then I've got this uxakato, which is the blankie.
Okay.
Yeah, so uxakato must be on at all times, but it's only for about 2 weeks after you've now gone to the in-laws' house as the new bride. And it must always be on. So whether you are doing the washing, whether you're making food, you are constantly wearing
cloaking you for the duties
so
of a wife.
This means that uxakato means that you are now, it just focuses you as the wife. It gives you that dignity that now you're no longer a girl, you know. You can't be just, you know, here, then. Even your the way you sit, you know, now you sit in a dignified manner because you are a woman, you are a makoti. Then all your shirts must be long sleeved. You must wear shirts. Some people wear polo necks as well. It depends on what you like, your style. Some people really style it up, other women. And then we have ijeremane, which is idaki as well, which is the shwe material. So you would have...
see that. Can you maybe just hold it up a little bit?
Maybe I should
get stand up, maybe.
Yeah. So, sorry, radio. So you would have this this way. So it's this is a faskot that is then on top of the jeremane, the daki, which is under here. And really, this is also just to be a dignified woman. This in itself is the scarf that you have, and this is also to respect your in-laws, that you can't just be, you know, without anything on your waist. You have to respect the in-laws. And underneath, you also wear a petticoat.
Okay, so you're very clothed. Very clothed.
Very, very clothed, because you cannot be, you cannot see the underwear, the line of the underwear. You cannot. They cannot see that. And then new shoes as well, brand new shoes. So anything that you wore before, you cannot wear going forward. An entire new wardrobe.
Wow, that is an
needed.
expensive exercise.
Very expensive. So an entire new wardrobe is needed. And you can build on your wardrobe slowly but surely. But ultimately, the dress is to say you are welcomed now in this new home. And your name also changes, by the way, Reinette. You get a new name. My name is Liandanelisa. You get named by the in-laws. So it's a name that would then symbolize what it is that you bring into that family.
Wow.
So
what does your name mean?
it basically means satisfaction.
Oh, wonderful.
It comes from a Xhosa song, a Xhosa gospel song that says, Liyandanelisa igama lakho Yesu. So your word brings satisfaction to me. So the way they've worded it is that you will bring satisfaction into this home. So that's that. So it's dignity. It's you're a new bride. There's also a towel that you would wear as well in the very beginning days, and that's called isgcinasfuba, meaning that you will hide all the things, not hide, but I mean you'll
be respectful.
Be respectful. Keep the secrets of the in-laws. You don't go around telling people about dodgy things that are happening with the in-laws.
Yes. So it's a protection.
It's protection. You are protecting the family. You're covering. So everything that, everything is covered. The first court, you're covering your family, covering the in-laws, covering, this family. But as a child of God, a lot of the other women that had gone through the same rite of passage, I had conversations with them, and they were like, but don't look at it in the way that the in-laws will tell you, or don't hear those things. But what you can hear is that you are wearing the belt of truth.
That's correct.
In terms of the scarf that's around your waist.
Yes.
So you've incorporating your Christian beliefs into this outfit, the breastplate of righteousness, the towel around you. Ephesians 6, basically putting on the full armor of God as you go into the in-laws, into uncharted territories. New shoes, helmet of salvation, the shield of faith, the shoes of the gospel. So really, that is the way that I have looked into it, incorporated it. Even Musa Jaguja, she also mentioned that as well. Tokos Nam, people that I really respect within the kingdom, said, don't look at it in an awful way,
just
embrace
as tradition
it.
and as a custom and all that.
So I've learned to embrace it, Reinette. It wasn't easy, but I have embraced it. And it's a new journey, it's a new walk, but it is a walk with Christ, and also it's a walk where you need to be bold, because in certain families, you have to be introduced
it's a challenge
to the ancestors of the family. But now as a child of God, how are you going to be introduced to the ancestors? Who do you believe in? Don't you believe in Jesus? Is the tomb not empty?
Yes.
So for us, it's different, and you have to stand your ground, and know what you believe in. And sometimes you can be persecuted for that. So those are the things that come with it, if you're going to stand your ground and say, my husband and I do not believe in the ancestors, and we don't believe in doing
all the customs.
The customs. We don't believe in slaughtering goats and so on and so forth. And that's that. But yes, she's a new wife and so on, but we're not going to do that element of the whole procedure.
I love it. Absolutely wonderful. That was so informative. Honestly, just loved it.
Reinette.
Because, we sometimes just, it's totally distorted or misappropriated and not conveyed properly. And there are so many girls that want to marry in it's their culture.
Yes.
And it's a beautiful culture. But, obviously with being Christians, it's very hard for them to step into that. But thank you for sharing your life. It's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you,
And
Reinette.
thank you so much for being the joy that you are. Excuse me, now I'm getting the foggies. But I need to encourage you, family and friends, go and look at my Facebook post. I mean, she was one of the most
pictures now.
Yeah, and she's the most beautiful. She was the most beautiful bride. Honestly, we just absolutely had a glorious time at her wedding. But thank you, TC, and may the Lord just continuously use you as He does in His joyous way. And the joy of the Lord just shines out of you always. And you are such a pleasure to know and such a privilege to have you on my program. God bless you, my girl.
Thank you for affording me the platform to speak about my truth, speak about what I know, how I was raised. It really means a lot. I'm going to be reflecting on this the whole week now. So thank you, Reinette. I appreciate you.
Okay, pleasure. And you know what? She's also my supervisor. So this was quite a daunting task of airing, big shoes to fill. But family and friends out there, just have a glorious, wonderful week. Until we see you next week, be kind and stick to the rules always. Be obedient. Trust the Lord in these times. Just stay focused on Him at all times. I just want to finish on a word quickly. It says, may the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in Him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. Romans 15 verse 13. And be encouraged by that word, because we are living in perilous and unprecedented times. Just look up to Him. He is the essence and the resource of hope, and we can trust Him in these times. God bless you. We'll see you next week, same time. Goodbye.